So I've come here to share a very special secret with you.
Yay!
That secret is no one's coming. Let me say that again. No one is coming. And I say that as someone standing before you who technically right now should be retired on disability and confined to bed. And instead, I've just come back from a 3-week speaking tour of Nepal for the US State Department, talking about women's entrepreneurship and empowerment. Now, what do those two things have to do with each other? Well, I've been looking at the world of empowerment. I've been looking at the discussion of empowerment that's out in the world, and it is a hot mess. It's like a war. There's women fighting with men, and women wanting to take stuff from men, and men getting mad about that. It's just, there is no progress happening, and there's got to be a better way. So I started looking at my own journey to see if there was any way we could reframe this conversation and make it work better. And I started looking at my own journey. So 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with an illness called fibromyalgia. And you've probably seen the television commercials for the medications, but they're all a lie. Because fibromyalgia has no cure. It's a collection of symptoms, it's not an actual thing, so they don't even know where it comes from. So when I got the diagnosis, I thought, well, whatever, it's a thing that I have, and fine, I'll go live my life. Because I was living my dream life. I had just co-created the Culinary Media Network, and it was the world's first food podcast channel. And we had media coverage, and we were traveling the world making programs about chefs and winemakers and farmers, and I was chasing truffle dogs through the woods with a microphone. It was amazing. If you like that kind of thing. And I mean, I was here in New York with this star-studded gala where Martha Stewart was over there, and Ferran Adria was over there, and Thomas Keller. And it was just the most magical time of my life so far. And then one day, I guess I did one too many time zones because we were in a different country every month. So we would go twirl in the Alps in Vienna and in Austria, and then we would fly to Las Vegas and then to Italy and then back to Miami. And I woke up one day and I couldn't get out of bed. And all I could feel was pain. Now with fibromyalgia, it feels like you're getting the flu every day, but the flu never comes. So you know that feeling like the body aches and the foggy head and the fatigue, and you just want to crawl under a blanket and stay there. Well, that's the everyday. And then sometimes you get a special bonus of head to toe excruciating pain. So, yes. So this one particular day, I opened my eyes and I do a body scan every morning, like, okay, what hurts today and what do I need to manage? And I realized that a life change needed to happen because I actually couldn't physically get up. So, and then in the next few weeks following that, I also discovered I had massive food intolerances. So I could no longer eat bread. I could no longer eat cheese. Wine was off the menu. No milk, no butter. And you remember what I was doing for a living, right? So in one fell swoop, a 20-year career gone. And I'm a very passion-driven person. Passion is what drives every single thing that I do. And all of a sudden, my passion was rendered silent. And the process, the black depression that I went through with that, there were days where I would do everything I could do just to get through the day, and then at night, there were some nights I wished I would just not wake up the next day. And so it went on for a while like this, and then one day, I woke up and it was one of those pain days. And I thought, okay, we are at a crossroads right now. I talked to myself in the we. And I said, okay, Jennifer, you have two choices right now. You can either give up or you can get out of this bed. And I started thinking about my mother. Now, my mother is a force of nature. She's about 5'1" and 100 pounds. And she grew up in World War II Scotland, where bombs fell around her house every night she was going to bed. And I've caught her trying to move large chests of drawers up the stairs on a rug, successfully. And she dances till 2 o'clock in the morning. And she's the same woman who at 19 years old said, you know what? I don't want to be on a farm in Scotland the rest of my life. And she packed a trunk and she left for America by herself. This is the same woman who, after 9/11, she could see how stressed I was going to work every day. And I think I was complaining about it. And she said, listen, you have 2 choices right now. You can either stop working in Manhattan, or you can get to work. Not that, okay. She's like, I had bombs falling around me every day. Suck it up and go to work. It's like, okay, Mom, that's great. So I'm lying there and I'm thinking about this. And I thought, what would my mother do right now? So I got out of bed. And I spent the next few years completely reinventing myself, redesigning my life, making peace with the fact that my food career was probably done, and making peace with the anger about that. And when I did that, I said, okay, it's time to find a new passion. There's got to be something that lights me up. I know it's in there. So I got a stack of Post-it notes and I sat down and I just started writing stuff. What do I want to do? Who do I want to work with? And I realized that the one thing I couldn't be with on planet Earth was the fact that a young girl might be sold or given away because she just didn't matter. And so I started looking at this world of women's empowerment. And like I said, I saw that it was messy. And so when I got invited to Nepal, I started kind of letting this simmer. And I realized that there are 3 access points to empowerment that if we came from there, we could actually change the dialogue completely. And the first is context. So context is the lens through which we see the world. So when I was sick and I was in the hopeless space, through that lens, life sucked, I didn't want to do it anymore, and I was utterly hopeless. And then when I shifted my view, it was like, okay, game on, what's next, what are we creating? So when I was in Nepal, they asked me to do the opening keynote for an event called Inspire Nepal, which was this business and trade expo. And I'm up on the stage and I've got the Deputy Prime Minister of Nepal, the Deputy Ambassador of the United States, and a room full of businessmen. And they want me to talk about women's empowerment. And I thought, ooh, this is going to be very interesting. And oddly enough, as I was talking to people throughout Nepal on my trip, there was very much an attitude of like, well, we don't really have the resources we need. We don't have what we need to succeed. And so I told that room, I said, listen, just on the drive here today, here's what I observed. On any given morning, the traffic in Kathmandu is so chaotic that you've got a combination of cars, trucks, buses, motorbikes, cows, donkeys, goats, and monkeys. That was in one car ride. And I said, and yet somehow it all works. It's sort of this chaotic symphony. So you've got organized chaos here. Guess what? That is the world of entrepreneurship. You guys have all the skills that you need to create an entrepreneurial society. And this kind of went through the room. So context is decisive. The second access point I see is collaboration. So when it came to my illness, it was me versus fibromyalgia. Zero-sum game, winner take all. And it wasn't until I started working with the illness that I could do something about it. So now I know I have to monitor my diet, my exercise, I've got my Fitbit on. It's like I've got to pay attention and work with this thing so that I can have the life that I want, because it doesn't get to say. And when it comes to the conversation between men and women, a lot of the time it's this zero-sum scenario where I'm going to take from you to get mine, and that doesn't work. So it's not for all the marbles. And so here was this room full of men in this same keynote, and I said, look, it's pretty clear that the conversation does not include tools for you to empower us. We're not providing what's needed for everybody to have this conversation. And after that talk, I was mobbed by men who said, thank you for actually saying that out loud because we do want to help, we just don't know what to do. And then the Deputy Prime Minister suggested that I run for President of the United States. So collaboration is key and context is decisive. And the most important point though, most important access point is responsibility. So when I was blowing off my illness and didn't really care about it, it owned me in the end. It kept me in the bed. And it wasn't until I realized that no one was coming to pull me out of the bed that I really had to do something about that. And so I was talking to a group of young entrepreneurs in Nepal. And we were just kind of talking about general questions they had about starting businesses and launching their companies. And this young guy raised his hand. He's like, well, we're all ready to go. The team's got the business plan done, but where do we go get money? And I came down off the stage into the audience and I said, you know what, that's a great question. Where do you get money? And he was kind of startled because he was expecting an answer from me. And so I opened the question to the room and I said, well, what do you guys think about that? And this one young guy in the front stands up and he's like, dude, nobody's coming to give you a bag of money. You've got to go find a client or an investor. I wanted to hire that guy. And so when you take responsibility, you can actually drive the bus, right? It's not a handout. And the other part of that is that empowerment is not something the universe gives you. I'm up here coated in glitter, but I can't take some of that and give you some magic stuff, right? I can't empower you or say that you get some, but you don't. It doesn't work like that. It's got to come from in here. So with those three pieces, I felt like we really started to create a dialogue in Nepal so we can go back and actually create a shift in women's leadership. And at the end of my Nepal trip, they asked me to do a radio interview with this very popular host, Sabina Karki. And so I sat down with her and I shared my story with her like I'm sharing with you now. And she said, Jennifer, if there's one thing you could tell the young people of Nepal, just one piece of advice, what would you give them? And I said, no one's coming. And she said, say more about that. I said, sure. No one's coming to pick up the pieces. No one's coming to give you what you're looking for. No one's coming to give you permission to dream or to create. That's got to come from you. And since that radio program went on the air, I have been pummeled with letters from young people all over Nepal saying, we want more of that. Come back and give us that. And now I have some of those young women working with me to build a young women's think tank for the Concordia Project so we can start a dialogue around the globe about what young women are concerned about. And then we can actually take on changing the world. Thank you.